So I titled this section "Starting a Business or Forming a Company, Forming a Corporation." They kind of fit in the same general category. So forming a corporation, forming an LLC, starting a business, because usually in starting a business, it's often accompanied by forming an LLC. So there's tons of free resources online, YouTube videos, articles you can read on starting a business and all the steps in starting a business. If you start out as what's called a sole proprietor, meaning you don't have a corporation or an LLC, you can do that. It's very easy, doesn't cost you anything. And basically, you just start running your business. You start a business and you start selling to people and taking their money. Now, there's no liability protection. There's no brand. You don't have a company name. You might be able to file a DBA or fictitious business name that says, which is usually a pretty, under $100 filing in the county where you're located, that says, I'm going to be doing business under the name of Joe's Plumbing or whatever it is, and file that to be legally compliant. Whether you need a business license, you might need that. But then you're basically off and running. Now, if you want to provide some liability protection so that creditors, like you sell someone to someone, they're not happy and they want to sue you, they're going to sue you individually and go after your personal assets. You don't want that. So the most common reason that someone forms a corporation or an LLC is for the liability protection. So anything the business does, someone wants to sue, they sue the LLC or the corporation, and that's their only way of recovering is against the business's assets, not your personal assets. It also provides more professional look, obviously, with a corporate or LLC name. You can hire employees. There's a lot of benefits of it. Now, the process of forming a corporation or an LLC, I tell clients this all the time. You want to go to, there's a list of resources down in this course, but you want to go online and use a free service or do it yourself. File with the Secretary of State the articles of incorporation, certificate of incorporation, whatever the form is. The local Secretary of State in the state you form usually has it. Some of them even have an online portal. You can form an LLC online, pay a filing fee, your LLC is formed. So there's nothing wrong with that. And there's companies and services that will do that either for low cost or sometimes free. Obviously, you have to pay the filing fee to the state. Technically, your LLC or corporation is up and running. However, you have to make sure you follow the next steps, whether the company you hired did those or not, or you do it yourself, or you hire an attorney to do the whole process for you. You want to make sure all these steps are taken care of. So not only do you form the LLC, corporation, what have you, how's it going to be taxed? If it's a corporation, you want to make sure you file an S election. So it's taxed under subchapter S. So it's an S corporation. This is a filing that you send into the IRS that says, I elect to treat my corporation as an S corporation. S is in Sam. You also want to apply for a tax ID number. You can do that online or by phone with the IRS. Go to the irs.gov, apply for its SS4 form, and apply for a tax ID number. And you can do that online usually or by phone. You can actually do it by mail too, but that takes a long time. Usually you can just do it online. So you get your tax ID number, you've filed with the Secretary of State what you need to. If you're doing business in other states, like you're based in California, you form it in California, but you have an office in Nevada or property in Nevada, you may need to register that LLC as a foreign LLC in Nevada. Again, that's a state filing that you would need to do in Nevada. Now, once you have the formation documents, you also, if it's a corporation, you want to have bylaws. You want to have board of director meetings and minutes, annual meetings of shareholders with minutes and resolutions, electing the board. If it's an LLC, you want a company agreement or operating agreement that basically says, how is this company managed? How is, why did we form it? How is it managed? Who are the owners? What happens if somebody dies? All of these kind of things need to be taken care of in your operating agreement. Or if it's a corporation, you might have a shareholders agreement that says, or a buy-sell agreement that covers things like what happens when somebody dies. We're 50-50 owners, but if Joe dies, I get his 50%, or I have to buy out his 50% from his spouse. Basically, things like that that are covered, that an attorney can walk you through, that most of the services that will form this for you, they may bring it up, but usually it's just a very blank template that doesn't cover those kind of issues. So hiring an attorney during the process, it really just provides more of those unknown issues that might be out there that you're not aware of, and you think, I did everything I'm supposed to. But the attorney says, hey, I've done thousands of these. You need to think about this. You need to think about that. Okay, taxation. What about change in ownership? What about, what's your exit plan? What about management? What about if you're 50-50 partners, what happens if you disagree and there's a deadlock? Is there a process for that? All this stuff should be in writing, in a shareholders agreement, buy-sell agreement, operating agreement, somewhere in writing. So those are additional steps that we recommend. Now, if you have all that stuff in place, or you hire someone, or you pay a service and they do all that for you, you may be fine. You need to make sure you've complied with any kind of franchise tax, state filings that need to be done, whether it's on an annual basis or right after formation, to make sure that they don't terminate the filing that you just did. So you want to make sure you take care of all these steps: filing the documents with the Secretary of State, getting a tax ID, documentation, minutes of meetings and resolutions, bylaws or an operating agreement, shareholders agreement, putting all this stuff in writing. And then if there's any kind of follow-up tax filings, or sometimes annually with the Secretary of State, you may have to file certain franchise tax reports, or just an annual statement listing who the directors and officers are. You just need to make sure you follow all those processes and file any kind of tax returns that are due to make sure that you've complied. So overall, yes, it's easy to start your own LLC or corporation. It's a basic filing. It's a 1 to 2 page filing with the Secretary of State, a couple $100 filing fee. You can probably do it online. But it's all those additional steps that you want to make sure are covered. And there's tons of, even on some of my YouTube series, Securities Law Media, I talk about some of the different steps in forming a business. So you just want to make sure all of those are covered. Hiring an attorney to do it, they might charge you a flat fee. Could be $700 all the way up to $3,000, $4,000 plus the filing fee. That's kind of a range of a flat fee. They could charge you hourly, but most of them will do it on a flat fee if you ask. Probably $1,500 is maybe an average throughout the US, just depends on your area. And the benefit is that the attorney can help walk you through taxation. What about management changes, ownership, all your documentation, make sure it's all set up correctly, all of your filings are done properly. And what about all those special issues like, okay, let's prepare for a business divorce. Have we thought about what happens if someone gets divorced? What happens to their ownership? If someone dies, does their spouse take over? Because maybe I don't want their spouse as a partner or their kid as a partner. So it's not that I don't trust them, but if something happens, I don't trust their kid's lawyer or their spouse's lawyer to try not to mess with the business. So, if it's a single member, just you LLC, and it's just to hold some real estate, doing it yourself is probably fine, as long as you've handled all the steps. But it's always a good idea to talk to an attorney, or at least do your research on the potential issues of forming a company and things that should be covered by a shareholders agreement, buy-sell agreement, and in your operating agreement, if you have one for an LLC, that covers some of those potential issues that could come up about change in control, ownership, business divorce, that kind of stuff, and deadlocks in voting, all that, those decision-making rights. So overall, that's, it's something you can probably do online yourself, but make sure you complete all the steps or hire someone to do so.